It doesn't look.
1, 2, 3. Want to work with Bite Day? The mom and dad tell us our favorite two people are mom and dad. We got the special edition because I know that everybody we're both proponents of Deion Sanders and Coach Sanders, we'll call it, because he is a coach.
Prime time.
Yes, and he's one of the best coaches still out there that people have to deal with. And some people will say, well, he didn't get a bowl like he was supposed to get. Some people say, well, they weren't as good as they were supposed to. Carlin, what are your thoughts on those people that have this thing on Coach Prime that, well, it wasn't a successful season because he didn't make a bowl game?
Well, I guess the question is, where did you get that notion that they were supposed to make a bowl game? He never said it. In fact, when he was asked about it, and that's the great thing I like about Coach Prime, is that everything that he has said is out there on social media, either video. I mean, it's the brilliant thing to do. When he said he keeps receipts, wasn't just what people say about him. Is that every scenario that he has to face, his son, Deion Jr., a.k.a. Bucky, the CEO of Well Off Media, they follow him right. He constantly, but there's a method to his madness. He's like, you can lie on me all you want to. I got the receipts. I got proof. Deion never, ever, ever talks about getting to a bowl game. Never. Now, media has brought it up to him, and then his response is, man, I'm not worried about a bowl game. I'm trying to win this week. Which, isn't that what you want your coach to say? Like, isn't that like that's why I don't get the haters. Is like, like he's saying what you want your coach to say. He has never brought up about a bowl game. So I'd ask the question, where did you come up with the whole thing that we're supposed to make a bowl in the first place? I mean, he's out there. He's like, I just want to win one game at a time, and I want to win now. And isn't that what you want to do? So you can't even set the expectation that internally they said that out loud. Now, did he want to make a bowl game? Of course he did. I mean, he wanted to make a national championship. But don't we all? Like, if I was coaching Central Florida, right? My goal would be to win a national championship. I mean, what's wrong with that? Right. And so is it disappointing for them? I'm sure. Look, if you ask Travis Hunter and Shador and Shiloh and Jimmy Horn Jr. and Xavier Weaver and all these top level 4 or 5-star guys, of course they're going to be like, yeah, man, we expected ourselves. But here's the thing. Nobody expected it. In fact, people were talking about they're the worst roster in America. Mark Schlabach said that. A 30-year veteran of the media said they were the worst roster in America. Come on, man.
He was hoping they would be the worst roster in America.
He was hoping that they would be. And I don't care what anybody says. And I've been back and forth with people on social media for the last few days. I don't care what anybody says. You're telling a lie if you said that you expected them to beat TCU at the beginning of the year. Ranked 17th in the country, fresh off a national championship, even though they got blown out by Georgia. They were there. Michigan wasn't. And I'm a Michigan fan.
And Michigan got beat by these guys last I checked.
And Michigan got beat by TCU. Now, granted, they listen, in reality, they lost 8 of their starters. Fair, but they were still ranked 17th to start the season. So everybody's like, oh, they're overrated. They're overrated. Not a single person that's saying that they're overrated now. We're saying that they were overrated on day one. I guarantee you. If you're saying that, you're lying. You're not telling the truth. Everybody, including myself, I was on the side of Vegas laid the line of 3.5 wins. Vegas is rarely wrong. Rare. Otherwise, they'd be out of business, right? So I always look at what they're saying for entertainment purposes only, right?
Yeah.
And they ended up with 4 wins. So,
he beat the odds.
You beat the odds,
but let's understand,
right? The season played out the way it was supposed to, with reasonable and mature people without an agenda, right? Whether it's on the fan side of things or whether it's on the hater side of things. If you look at the way that the season was supposed to play out, they were supposed to get 3.5 wins. They got 4, right? So you could choose the under at 3 or you could choose over at 4. I couldn't have predicted the TCU. I thought they were going to get boat raced at TCU. I'm going to be honest. I even said it out loud. But I also thought that they were going to beat Stanford. But they blew a 29-point lead in the second half.
But
so, you get one half the other. It ended up being what it was supposed to be.
But Carlin, this is the thing with people are not recognizing. First of all, they weren't even supposed to be competitive. Let's just point that out. When you have a roster that's historically that bad, historically, no.
Can we talk about how the roster came to be real quick? Can we just talk about how
go ahead.
Here's the truth, and here's what came from Deion Sanders himself. Here's what's come from the reports. Here's come from the players themselves. When he came to Colorado, he came there with his Louis luggage, right? I still love that, right? With his Louis luggage, which was 10 players from Jackson State. That was his sons and the very best players from Jackson State, like Travis Hunter, who wanted to come with him, including their kicker, Mata, who hadn't missed a kick in 2 years, right? Okay, so they brought the very best. That was the Louis luggage he was talking about. The athletic director and the chancellor gave Deion permission to talk to 20 players to let them know, hey, this probably ain't going to work out for you, right? Their intent was to keep 65 scholarship players, add the 10 from JSU and maybe a couple of transfers, and that was going to be their 85-man roster. Well, after the 20 got talked to, and by the way, those 20, some of those guys were going to be academically ineligible. Some of them were hurt permanently, right? Weren't even going to be able to return. And the other ones weren't even on campus. So it was like he was trying to trim the fat. And then he told the other guys, I'm going to make it so hard for you and make it quit. Do you remember our soccer coach, like our first year of varsity soccer, when he says, I'm going to run you guys so hard, you're going to want to quit?
Right.
Like, coaches say that stuff all the time.
But it's who's saying it? You see what I'm saying? I think that's what people are missing. If it's not a certain look, a certain way, and a certain recognition, you don't get a pass at doing stuff that everybody does that's successful.
And who's walking in the door but the greatest athlete of our generation?
Yeah.
And I defy anybody to say otherwise.
Well,
that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But anyway, he's walking in. The man's 27-6, coming from an FCS school. He won 3 state championships in high school as an offensive coordinator, and he's coached like a third of the guys who are in the Under Armour All-Star games, who are now at Florida State, Alabama, playing Texas, places like that. Right? Okay. So the dude has credentials walking in the door, and he tells you, y'all went 1-11. You get music. I've already done the scouting. I've been to the place. You're skipping class. You're skipping film sessions. You're bringing music into the position meetings, and I'm running you so hard you're gonna want to quit. Right? Okay. So they were afraid, and 51 players walked out right before the spring game. 51. Yeah. So he had to go to the portal, and what did he get? He got grad transfers, third stringers from Alabama, Arkansas, Florida State. They were still from those big programs, but they were still third stringers to join the 10 that stayed and the 10 that came from JSU. That's the squad. And they didn't even have everybody until August. So you walk in the door at TCU, 100-degree weather, on the road, 17th ranked team, fresh off a national championship.
And remember, you were a nobody. You the doormat of a league. In fact,
the program was the doormat of the league, right? Yeah. And your quarterback comes in and throws for 500 yards and breaks a school record. You got 4 receivers over 100 yards apiece. You got a running back who got 3 touchdowns, and you got Travis Hunter diving for interceptions in the red zone. And that's like. How were you not supposed to have hype after that? And you got the greatest athlete of all time coaching him on sidelines in a pair of shades. But how in the world were you not supposed to be hyped about that?
Carlin, this is the thing people forget. Travis Hunter, which most coaches would have played for ego. This is why I liked what Deion Sanders did. He could have played him and won games that were winnable if you had Travis Hunter. But he was looking out for Travis Hunter's career. That's a coach. A lot of coaches out there won't do this. It's all about their record, how they look. Look what I did. This guy even took his own son out, which was a winnable game at Utah. If he put Shedeur Sanders in there, they would have probably won that game.
And since you bring up Travis Hunter still had 107 yards and a touchdown with a freshman quarterback while playing both ways.
And let's be realistic, folks. You know, this is unheard of, unseen, and he's coaching talent that can be better. And I dare say it. If you want to make it to the NFL, I think you want to go on Deion Sanders' size, on his side. You know
and now he's got Warren Sapp. And here's the other thing, too. People talk so horribly about, he's a me guy. He's a clown. He doesn't know how to coach. Yet, Hall of Famer like Warren Sapp went back and got his college degree just so he could come on and be their defensive line coach next year. Now, let's stop and think about that for a second. If nothing else happened, this black man inspired another black man to go back and get his degree.
And I think that's what they're scared of. this man's going to inspire other guys to think higher than what they have and say, I can be.
Well, he's already done it. He's already done it. Now you got to walk the path.
Yeah.
Now, and the thing is, I love about Deion is that he's been honest every day. He's been honest, maybe too honest, right? And he allows you to see behind the veil how they make their decisions, the way they go about it. And I'll be honest, he hasn't handled everything, I would say, perfectly as a coach. When I say handled, I'm talking about more procedural things, not necessarily from a character standpoint. From a character standpoint, he's a man of God. He openly talks about God. I mean, he starts his press conference by asking how everybody is doing in the room, including the haters.
And Carlin, how you doing today? He represents God in the best way he knows how to a lot of people. When people stole stuff and talked about him, he was blessing them. He was being
he said, bless those young boys. He said,
He
said, when I was 17, 18, I made dumb mistakes. This dude was robbed by these guys, and he said, pray for him. When the guy, and I'm going to tell you this, the Blackburn kid from Colorado State, he actually eliminated any chance they had at a bowl season. When he took out Travis Hunter, their best player, arguably the best player in non-QB in college football. I'm going to say that again. Arguably the best non-quarterback in college football today. You take him out for 3 games because of an illegal dirty hit. Right?
Games that were winnable.
The bullshit.
These games would have been winnable if Travis Hunter was in there.
Yeah, with the exception of Oregon. They were going to get stomped by Oregon anyway. That was, they were going to get stomped.
Plus, too, we have all the coaches giving them the plays and stuff like that.
Right. And again, even there, he didn't go after the coaches. He's never said a bad word or disparaging word about another coach. Yet other coaches have talked bad about him.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? It's like he said nothing but respect. And here's like, don't believe me. Go look it up.
Yeah.
Copy and paste it. Everything he said is out there. And it's like they've come after him because they don't like the shades. They don't like his flashy smile. They don't like his catchphrases. They don't like the fact that he's got commercials. They don't like the fact that he's
they don't like the fact they can't compete with this man. This man has more stuff than the majority of the coaches out there. He has the charisma. He has the caring attitude. He has the belief. He has the system. He has the credentials. He's been there, done that.
Here's what he doesn't have yet. He doesn't have all the wins yet.
Oh, Carl.
And that's why he scared the pants off everybody. He said, get me now. Get me now.
When you look at those wins and losses, some of them were blowouts. You expect those. In fact, I expected more blowouts.
There was only 2 blowouts.
That's what I'm saying. I expected more blowouts with the way he set up the roster. I'm a Michigan fan. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, they lost. Listen, the loss to USC, and USC has turned out not to be what we thought they were. Right. They were in the game at halftime at UCLA. They did make a bad call. The offensive coordinator did make a bad call and not trying to run the ball, but they were in the game 10-7. I mean, going in. Obviously, they could have won at Utah even without Shador. Arizona was housing people, right? Even though they weren't ranked at the time. They were housing people. That took a last-second thing to do that. They lost on the last second to Stanford, even though that should have been a win there. When you add that all up, and people go, "Oh wow, they could have been 2-10." They also could have been 8-4.
Yeah.
But the haters don't want to acknowledge that either. So here's the thing: you got a coach who is 3 years into being a head coach. Let that sink in. 1 year into being an FBS head coach, 3 years into being a head coach at the D1 level. When he gets his footing, and he's talked openly, said, "I'm glad I'm done playing Chip Kelly because now I can call him and get advice." And for all the stuff that, he's arrogant. He said he's the best coach in America on 60 Minutes. No, the guy asked him, "Who's a better coach than you?"
Yeah. And
who did he say? Nick Saban. And he said, "I absolutely adore him. I want to learn at his feet, blah, 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 blah." So on one hand, they say he's arrogant, but at the other hand, here he's talking about he wants to learn from other coaches. All he wants to do is learn from the best. See, he don't want to learn from the slot buckets, right?
Come on, talk about it.
You can't have it both ways. Now, is he a perfect coach? No, he's not. I've seen some things that I'm like, man, I'd have called it differently. But he coaches with his gut. And that same gut got them an overtime win against Colorado because he put his son out there first. He believed in Shador in overtime. Yeah. Okay, so you can't, listen, again, you can't have it both ways over there either. You're going to coach with your gut. You got to take some of the losses too, where you had took a gut. But he's learning. Yeah. And that's the part that's scaring people is like, he's not going anywhere.
He's
going to be here. He's a fast learner.
He's a fast learner. I think because I was trying to look up, because like I said, I'm hoping Chris Carter gets opportunity because I'm always got to get a shout out to Chris Carter, another Christian, another great football coach who needs an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And I hope he gets it
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
Because what I think what they don't want Christian men coaching these kids up with Christian values.
Okay, so I'm going to be very careful when I say this. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I mean, there are 14 black coaches in out of 131 Division I programs. 14. Let that sink in. And what is it? 47, 48% of college players are black.
Yeah.
But only 14% are head coaches. Okay. So let that sink in for a second. So when you get Jay Norvell out there using dirty tactics, sending his players to commit 11 personal fouls against Colorado, to take out Shador, to take out Travis, to take out, I mean, he coached them that way. And he's another minority coach. Right? Okay. So what you were saying is right. There are some black coaches out there who are just willing to do everything and anything to win.
Yeah.
Deion Sanders just came out a couple of days ago and said, we're not an ATM. We're not going to pay for players. And people who are not paying attention don't get it. They're like, oh, what about Shador flexing his watch and rolling on a Rolls Royce? Here's the difference.
Yeah.
Deion is coming from an institutional perspective. He's saying the University of Colorado will not pay players to come here.
Right.
What he's saying is that we're crushing TV numbers so much, we're crushing social media so much that if you do come here, you'll get your own NIL deal and you won't be limited by the collective that waters it down for everybody. So Shador is worth $5 million right now and projected to be worth 10. That's because they are performing on TV. He's leading, he was one of the leaders in the nation of 7 weeks in passing. 2 interceptions. Who does? I mean, the man, and he's got charisma.
Yeah.
And so if Google wants to do an ad like they did last night, they're running Google ads with him and Shiloh during the Michigan-Ohio State game. That's it. Deion doesn't need to pay players.
No.
Google's paying them. That's the point. And so people still want to criticize, like, well, he's a hypocrite because his kids are getting paid. Yeah, they're getting paid because they're worth it to corporate America. But he's saying as the institution, Colorado will maintain their values and we ain't paying players. So if you come here telling me you need $500,000, all I'm gonna say is get on the field and show Google that you're worth $500,000.
Hey,
that's
Carlin, nobody's gonna complain with that, but this is the whole thing I'm trying to tell folks. He has the machine. If you want to be great and make money, it's all there. He's not hiding anything from you. See, a lot of these other coaches, they hide stuff from their players. They use you. You can make it if you do it. If you think about it, if you do it, you can make it. Versus,
so I'm going to share this.
Do it while you make it.
So I'm going to share this because I don't have permission to use his name yet.
Yeah.
But a young man who I used to coach in basketball not too long ago, is a 9th grader at a public school here. And he is one of the top-rated wide receivers in the state of Tennessee. As of Friday, they are headed to the state championship. Okay? He has looks from everybody. As a freshman, he has looks from everybody at wide receiver. Guess where he says he wants to go?
Where?
He want to go play for Coach Prime. He don't want to play for Saban. He don't want to go to Tennessee. He don't want to go to Florida State. He don't want to go to USC. All these places that are looking at him as a freshman. You know why? I was like, well, why do you want to go play for Coach? Is it because you weren't born when Deion was playing?
Right.
Why do you want to go play for Coach Prime? He says, because number one, he's going to let me shine.
He's
going to let me do my thing.
Let's just be real about it. A lot of times coaches will inhibit you from being great. Even though you're winning.
Well, the only person to ever hold Michael Jordan consistently under 20 points was Dean Smith.
And he admits it. You can look at Dean Smith. I wish I would have played it. Dean Smith admits it. But the reality, folk, is just look at it from a realistic standpoint. If you've ever been in Division, we have people, our friends who play Division I. In fact, some of them played against Deion Sanders and stuff, and Sanders wanted them to play and stuff. We want, shout out to BJ. Sorry about that. We love you, we love
That's my nephew.
Yeah. The Green family, we love you. We give you a shout out and some love. But let's just be realistic, folk. This is a money thing. And what do I mean by that? If you perform, people will pay you. If you don't perform, people will deny you. And if you have people who like you, if they
Name
like
another
you,
coach that's
yeah.
been honest about that. Deion, they got it pasted on the walls at Colorado. He said, if you look good, you play. If you feel good, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. And if you play good, they pay good.
Yeah.
You're like, there's no other coach out there who's saying that. And then people who get mad at that, like, oh, it's only about the money. Well, guess what?
It is about the money. Why
Yes,
do you think the
it
universities
is
pay
about
these
the
coaches
money.
all that money? Hello,
Please.
come on,
They're
folks.
paying Jimbo Fisher $79 million over the next few years to not coach.
Thank
To
you.
not coach. And
And
you
they get
mad
mad at the
and
Raiders.
you mad because Deion's getting $5 million.
And realistically,
To
man,
coach.
it's this. I hate to say this, but it's this great replacement foolishness that people put out there. The reality is, man, this is America. You should be able to have the right, if you have something, to get compensatedly paid for it. Period. It should not be based off race and color and all that other
And
stuff.
I want to say this caveat, Todd, because
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this narrative. And some people ain't gonna like to hear this, but I'm sick of this narrative for Black people. Why do we have to be twice as good to get just as much?
Ooh.
Why does Deion Sanders have to be the greatest coach of all time to get $5 million a year? There's a bunch of slot buckets out there that I could name who are head coaches at Division I programs and been coaches for years, right? Deion comes in, improves the winning percentage by 400%.
Yeah.
With an empty cabinet, had to go get his own players.
Historically bad squad. Historically
bad squad. And get this. And they didn't have the money to pay him when they signed the contract. He's like, never mind. I'll go make the money for you to pay me with. Right? Okay? Like, don't even worry about it. I got
I'll advertise and build your program up.
Like, yeah. So if Deion didn't override his offensive coordinator in the UCLA game to say we need to run it 3 times and get out of halftime with the ball and get it back, and it cost them the game, big whoop. Dan Lanning didn't even know how many downs they had at Oregon the few weeks after that, right? So, like, Deion's got to be perfect. He's got to be the best, greatest coach ever. He may never be a great coach, but if he is a winning coach at some point in time, then you got to put him in the mix like with everybody else.
Before we leave, folks, let's just give you a perspective. Colorado is a horrible program for the last 10 years. Horrible. No one's ever seen something fall off the face of the earth like that. This is the same program that beat my favorite team, your favorite team, Michigan. We'll talk about it another time.
One of the legendary games of all time.
I mean, we still got to watch and be like looking at it and get mad at. And he's taking this program that actually won a national championship, with the historical lows.
A co-national championship.
Let's bring that out.
Your Nebraska Huskers, didn't they share it with them?
Yeah, something stupid like that. But and let's just be realistic. The Huskers program, right? You got people, we're gonna stick with Matt Rule. They have the same identical record last I checked. And I believe he's one of the best coaches in the nation. I want y'all to think about
one of the most sought after in the offseason. He was.
So this dude was sought after, and let's point out, Nebraska didn't even look at Deion. They have the same identical record.
But to be fair, Todd, that was never going to be a fit. Deion's only going to fit in a few places, and you can only occupy one job.
I think he could have fit at Nebraska for this reason. Nebraska is about winning, and they got money too. See, Colorado didn't have money when he walked in. He had to create that money. And
Colorado had space for him to be who he was, for him to bring his family in. It had to be a whole combination of things, and people are some of the haters are going to be like, well, they got 4-8, they got humbled, he got put in his place or whatever. And it's like,
why do I really put in our place? I want to ask that question real quick. Why is it that we have to always be put in our place? That's slave terms.
It is, and I had to explain that to a really good friend of mine who has his own show. I wasn't going to name him, but I'm going to do it here. Shout out to my brother Lance J Radio Network, James Lewis. Listen to him on all the radio platforms. Lance J Show. He's one of those guys. He's a get off my lawn guy that says, you can't dance until you win, have more wins than losses. And I buck against that vehemently. Right? It's like if you score. and it said, and you worked for that score, man. Do your dance. Do
Look,
your
it's so
dance.
hard to score at those higher levels. That's what people don't understand. The higher
It
you go,
is.
the harder it is to get there. In fact, you hear all the time, I didn't think I was ever going to score a touchdown in the NFL. You hear guys say that. It's so hard.
And Todd, this is why it comes from non-athletes or like, act like you've been there for or whatever, this, that, the third. And I shared this story back when I was really, really training to play professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to the batting cage there in Hackers, Todd, in Niles, Michigan. Yep. And I would be in the batting cage machine without gloves for so long that my fingers, my hands would bleed. So when I hit a home run off a guy who was headed to the majors, right? And it was coming at me 92 miles an hour and changing direction 3 times. And I smacked that sucker 400 feet. Do you know that I did my dance?
Of course.
I didn't care what the score was because nobody was around when I was sweating off 2 pounds at a time and my hands were bleeding from taking batting practice. Like you don't know what we go through to get those moments. So you can't tell me how to act in that moment. Right. And what Deion is for giving these kids is a platform. If you put in the work, and he, by the way, he holds them that you got to study film. He benched Cormani McLean, the #1 cornerback in America. He's like, you can't play until you study film, bro.
But he was helping that kid.
But he's helping him.
And other coaches would have played him because they're looking at their record, their stuff, instead of saying my integrity is going to build this system. And we're running up to the minute here, but I just want to leave this thing here real quick because this is a great conversation. Congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines. Once again, I got a smile on my face. Yes. And to all my Buckeye friends, I didn't see any more nasty emails of scores and how bad we are and how bad. And I'm just going to give a shout out to Jim Harbaugh at this time. Jim, we love you. Dude, you coach from the bench. You actually did something very amazing, and I want to point this out. Don't you find it very interesting no one ever takes Jim Harbaugh's assistants?
That's a whole nother show. Can we do a show on that? Can we do a whole show on that? Can we just do a whole show on that, man?
Yeah, we're just doing a whole show on that. And Jim Harbaugh, you are a genius, dude. I got to give it to you, man. So we're going to give a shout out to Jim Harbaugh on that one. But
yeah, I also want to shout out to Buford Griffith III. Shout out to James Lewis again, Ashley Jewell. Who else is an Ohio State fan?
Man, I'm not. You know what, Oliver? I'm not giving any credibility to those guys. No,
OJ Davis.
Yeah, I'm not giving any credibility to all my Ohio State friends because you know what? It's nice to see them quiet for a whole nother.
Oh my goodness,
year.
It's so quiet.
Man,
it's quiet.
I don't get any crazy emails, no history lessons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when Michigan was losing, it was horrible. Man, whatever they were doing, you guys suck for another year. I am so happy. Thank you, Jim Harbaugh, for finally shutting this thing. Why are you still with Jim Harbaugh? Because that was our only choice.
The only choice.
A Michigan man.
Let's go. Michigan man will coach a Michigan team. Thank you, Uncle Bo. Thank you, Uncle Bo.
Great to you. And next, Tom Brady, you're up next if Jim Harbaugh leaves. But I think they got a great one in the back right now.
Yeah.
Prove himself.
Yeah.
So anyway, but next time, hope you guys watch us again here. We might have a show just talking about sports casting or something like that with us anyway in the future. But anyway, till next time, we'll see you on Mom and Dad Talks. And we'll have Mom and Dad. We had to finish up the Deion Sanders thing to just wrap it up in a nice bow. Fantastic season.
Until next season.
I think he's going to be bigger and badder next season because he knows what he knows what he needs now at this level.
Well, spoiler alert. They do have some big boys committed for next year. Ooh. And they got the #1 offensive lineman who has narrowed it down, and the Colorado's still on the list. Ooh. So if I'm telling you, if all they need is about 7 or 8 of them big boys, and it's on because they're running it back. Shador's back, Shiloh's back, Travis is back. They got 90% of their roster back. Ooh. And they will have a full year to work on their offense and defense. Yeah.
And I just want to put this out there. He may not be thinking this, but all those HBCU programs, he may have them on lockdown, folk. You better think about it, folk. Those HBCU guys still can play football. Still can play football. Just want to point that out. They know how to play football. So you better think about it.
And the haters are really going to hate it if they go, oh, yeah, he got 4 and 8. But what if the Colorado women win the national championship? Still undefeated. and his daughter is on the team.
Oops.
The man wins.
Hey,
even when you think he's losing.
Well, like I said, till next time, we'll see you on Mom and Dad Talks. Thank you, CJ. I always love talking about sports, especially God-fearing men in sports. We'll see you on Mom and Dad Talks next time. Love you all.
Peace.